And we are live. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
I was just saying to Seth, smile. And he gave me this really, really weird grin.
I can do
Well,
it again.
hello, everyone. What?
I can do it again.
Yes, absolutely. I know you can.
hmm
Smile. So, hello, everyone. It's Friday, September 12th, I believe. Yeah, 13th. Okay, September 13th. And we are live one more time. Today it's going to be maybe a little bit confusing if you haven't watched my number one video, which I did on the 7th of September. But I did put a link into this current post where you can go back maybe after you're watching this one here. And just 1 second. I do need to maybe mute something here. Well, anyway, if you haven't been seeing it, so what I was trying to do is basically take three. I could find in my repertoire of oils 3 different suppliers, but the same oil, bergamot oil, and I did a comparison of counting 10 drops and seeing how much they actually weigh. I have like a little scale, pocket scale, and I put the same 10 drops 3 times to the test to just see, is it possible to actually get the same grams in the test? Not only that, but also how does it differ between different suppliers? And in my test, I used an Austrian supplier. I used Floriana and doTERRA. So 3 different companies, same oil, same Latin name. And so I put the comparison now into PowerPoint, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and explain this one. So let's see if anybody is joining us. I'm saying hello, and let us know if you have any questions. I will go back to the comment section as well, and then we can talk about them. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and share the screen. Okay, it's always exciting to share a screen. Make sure you share the right one.
And you did that.
All right, so you should be seeing a weird blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to switch over to the PowerPoint. And I'm sorry about the little sounds and noises, but my mom's cat just got put asleep because of leukemia. And so she's just writing a message that the little kitty is gone. So sorry about the noise. Okay, so Blend Precisely Live number 12. Drops versus grams. So what I did here in this little chart is basically I counted 3 times, test 1, 2, and 3, 10 drops. And those 10 drops for the Austrian supplier gave me these results here, 0.38 grams, 0.39 grams, and 0.36 grams. So a small variation, not too much, but still there is a little variation. The doTERRA one was 0.30 grams, 0.42, and 0.39. So actually, I only wanted to do one test. And I'm like, okay, between these 3, we can see the difference between 0.38 grams, 0.3 grams for doTERRA, and Floriana was 0.26 grams. So 10 drops really can vary already here between the suppliers. So now we go out on the internet, we're going to grab some kind of a recipe, and we're just going to go by 10 drops. Now, this is going to be quite a bit of a difference, and you will see it later on in the dilution ratio as well. But then I said, okay, well, let's try it a second time and a third time. And as you can see, the biggest jump probably was here on the doTERRA bottle, the bergamot one, between test 1 and test 2, where I suddenly had 0.42 grams. And then I did a third test, and it was 0.39 grams. Floriana pretty much stayed the same, so just 0.01 gram difference. And the Austrian supplier more or less the same as well. So so that was already interesting in itself and important to really see that we should be, as aromatherapist, still switching over to using grams and not drops, because it can vary quite a bit. So if we get a recipe and the recipe would say, okay, use 0.35 grams, we can measure that in all 3 of them. But if it says 10 drops, we will get completely different results. Okay. Seth, did you want to say anything to this slide still?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, since you did the test, did you notice any difference in the way that the drops came out between these different brands?
Yeah, wait a second. I just stopped sharing for a moment so we can see each other again. Yes, actually, there was a difference. So Floriana, the dropper is always very slow. So it's easy to count and to calculate as well. The Austrian supplier, for example, had a really, really deep color, and the viscosity, I would say, almost was a little bit thicker. And then the doTERRA oil came out really fast. So, that's why I had to repeat the test, because I thought I miscalculated. Right. But in the test itself, or in the video, you can actually see that how it came out.
So do you think that it was a difference maybe in just the type of oil, or were there just variations in the source of the oil, which gave it a different viscosity? Or
well, it could very well be. I mean, surely the colors were all different. And it's hard to say, because the origin, they can say one thing or the other. I mean, how deep can we really go in trusting our suppliers? That is another question. I mean, it's really good to know your suppliers, and for that reason also questioning them, I think, is a good thing. Are they organic? Are they coming from well, depending which oil, but are they maybe wild-crafted oils? Those oils are very beautiful and intense in color and odor as well, or aroma. But yeah, all 3 of them felt different.
Yeah, so one of the things I noticed, I was very interested in how closely the drops per gram match up with testosterone. So if you take the number for example, for Floriana, like 0.27 grams, that's in 10 drops.
And share one more time.
Yeah, if you can bring that back up.
Yeah. Right. This one?
Right. So if you divide 10 grams, or sorry, 10 drops by 0.27 grams, you come up with 37 drops per gram. And
so that's on the high end, actually.
Yeah, but if you do the Floriana at 0.42 grams, 10 drops, that comes out to...
That's the doTERRA one here, the 0.42 grams?
Yeah, that comes up to 23 drops per gram.
Oh,
so it's, I mean, there is quite a bit of variation.
Sorry.
And
well, I went through my whole slide so quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think for something like bergamot, it's not that big of a difference in price, but I think if you get into the higher levels of, or the more expensive oils, it really becomes a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like helichrysum, frankincense, rose, and so on. Yeah, it will be very different. But let me just move on to the second one, because you're right. Because if you see the drops or the prices later for bergamot, it's, of course, bergamot is not that expensive, so it will be not that great in the price difference, but still significant if you want to bring it out to the retail market, or if you sell it to one of your clients. But you will see that in a moment. So I did do the price analysis as well, cost for 10 drops, and then I calculated what if I put into Blend Precisely the low end grams we see here. So on the low end, 0.26, 0.3, and 0.36, and then also the high end cost. So again, the price difference isn't that great if you put them in for the Austrian supplier. Here with Floriana, you do see a little bit of a price difference. I mean, it's almost, 30% from the low end to counting drops. And then also what you see here, doTERRA, there is a great price difference if you look at the costs here for 10 drops, or if you actually go by weight. So yeah, I mean, it is a difference anyway between the suppliers, but even between those tests, the difference is quite great between these two last ones, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the last one now. So I actually put the 10 drops of bergamot oil into a dilution as well of 10 milliliters jojoba. And I did want to see how does it look like if I'm using the bergamot oil, the high-end gram numbers, meaning, let me just go back to the slide, meaning I used for the Austrian supplier, the 0.3 grams, for the doTERRA 0.42 grams, and then also for Floriana I used 0.27 grams. And then we can see here the dilution ratio is between the Austrian supplier, it's mentioned down here, is not that great between these two, Floriana and the Austrian one, but we see a big difference here, which is 2.7% versus 4.2%. So if you are actually blending for clients and you're using drops, and the drops, for example, you use doTERRA, you blended 10 drops, you're suddenly at a 4.2% dilution ratio maybe, versus if you use Floriana, you're only at a 2.7%, which again is maybe not so dangerous if you have a healthy, young, normal adult person. But if you go into babies or elderlies, you do want to make sure you have the right percentage count as well. So again, this showcases for me for sure that one should be using grams and not drops.
I think the problem also compounds if you have like 6 different oils in there.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And you're using a mix of different suppliers.
Yes.
You could be way off. You're looking at just one oil here. So
yeah, for for simplifications, basically. Otherwise, it gets super confusing. But it's true. I mean, I've been going through many different tests, and this one is a simplified one. But even with one, you see already a difference. I mean, just with one oil, just with 10 drops or 10 milliliters jojoba and the high-end gram number. And then, oops, you also see the costs here. So the cost of this blend is $2.09, $2.98, and $2.02. But once you put this times 3, so you can actually make some money, the price difference is quite a bit. I mean, here you have $8.94, which you would need to sell to the client. And again, it's a small, low-end cost blend, but it makes a much greater difference once you try to sell it with many oils in it, or you want to actually make some profit, or you sell it maybe to the wholesale market and you need to make profit. So just between the blend of Floriana here and the blend to doTERRA, you could say, oh yeah, I can sell my blend for $9. But actually, if you were to use retail, if you were to use Floriana, you could probably increase your profit margin by 30% if you were to choose a different supplier as well. So it's, I don't want to make it too complicated, but basically what I'm trying to say here is source your oils, get to know your suppliers. Let me just go out of this one. Get to know your suppliers. I'm almost done, but can you see me back? Yeah.
I think I heard Tisserand actually say buy a scale.
Buy a scale. Yes.
He just made it that clear. Go buy a scale.
Exactly. And I mean, buy a scale which has like 2 digits after the dot at least. But yeah, so just, again, it's not about the brands. It's not about anything, in terms of who's better and not. What I'm trying to show here in this exercise is literally, if we blend with drops, the recipe results will be always different. They will never be the same. Fine for home use, maybe. maybe even there, if you have elderlies and children, you don't want to run the risk. But definitely, if you're in a professional way dealing with customers and you have to recreate blends, and they are maybe much more complex than the one I just showed, then you do want to use grams and percentages and go one way or the other for sure.
I just wanted to point out my personal experience not being an aromatherapist and watching my talented wife present things to clients. I've personally seen people go, wow, it's like that really worked. Just recently, I'm visiting a friend that she had fallen. She was out on a camping trip and she'd fallen down. And she had a big scar on her hand, and I just happened to have this healing salve that Katrin had made with helichrysum and
yeah,
I don't know what else
and
was in
some
it.
organic beeswax and some goodies in there.
And this is somebody who has never encountered aromatherapy or anything about it, and she said, "Oh my God!" It's like the next day she showed me. It's like this is like much better. So
yeah, I mean, in cases like this, you really want to make sure you've got your recipe down and you can
exactly.
recreate it, and you can recreate it and batch it up as well, because that was, for example, December last year, I created this blend, and we sold really well with the healing blend, and people are coming back for this one. So you really want to make sure you get this down, and you can present the same thing to your clients over and over again.
Yeah.
Well, Seth, that was my little presentation. Now, just quickly towards the end, because the kids want to go surfing again, the release, the next steps, and I'm sure some of our, I know I put you on the spot here, but some of our users, they probably will be asking that question in the back of their heads.
Yeah.
And you've been testing, and you pulled my German dad in to test.
Always scary. He's really good at testing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So I'm really excited about this one. We've solved a lot of glitches and little problems, things you probably didn't notice. But we added a lot of colorization and some cool features like scaling, which I think you'll like. Definitely a shout out to Tracy, I think, who really was requesting.
Becky and Tracy both. Yeah.
So we've got that there in for you, and a few other things that we will detail in great gory detail.
So when can we?
Yeah, so I just got done doing a cursory test. There's some things that I want to make perfect. So I'm looking within the next few days. If I was a manager, I would say, don't believe that guy.
Well, if you're a programmer with the hat on as a programmer.
So, but I think within a week it would be a very easy target to get this out to you. And I'm the engineer that can't wait to give you more stuff. I want to get clients in there and some other features that my wife would shoot me if I told you, because we want to keep a few things under wraps.
Well, I'm all for what was that? Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah. So at any rate, I really want to make this a tool that you can really find useful for not just doing cost blending, which it is useful for, and for the immediate visualization of safety information and graphs, but also it is a difficult process to have an idea, create it, blend it, cost it, and then how do you sell it? How do you associate it with a customer? How do you print out a recipe and get it to your customer, stuff it in a box and ship it out to them? And where do you sell it? So we're trying to solve all of these problems. We're not quite there yet, but it's coming, and I'm excited to get that to you.
I want to have a shout out to Jackie, and I think it's probably Tracy, So happy to see this happening. Can't wait for that, Jackie is saying. And probably in regards to the drops and grams, I'm glad you two took the time to do this. Yeah, that was important just for me. I wanted to do it for quite a while, but as you can see, there's a little bit more involved in terms of calculation and so on. So it took me quite a few hours to just make sure I'm not delivering some kind of weirdness. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching again. And I wish you all a really, really beautiful Sunday. And we will definitely see each other next week again with hopefully the new release. If not next week, then the week after. You guys rock. Thank you, Tracy. I can only see Facebook users, so I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's her. All right. Well, have a good weekend.
Right.
And I've been spending time converting my recipes. Thank you. Okay, great. Okay, see you next Sunday. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Ciao.
Bye-bye.